I'm Douglas Hutchison. I'm the Executive Director of Education for Glasgow City Council. In Glasgow, as with everywhere else, we want the very best for our children and young people. And I think in order to achieve that, as professionals, we need to be committed to our own ongoing learning. We need to be lifelong learners if we want our children and young people to be committed to lifelong learning. In terms of the overall process, what I see in Glasgow is that our staff development coordinators, our teams in schools and here at the centre have been deeply involved in the process from the very beginning. When the professional learning model was designed, we engaged early in the consultation process so that we were able to hit the ground running when a final model emerged. The same with the revised standards. We engage early in the discussion and so we're able to engage with the final standards when they're produced. The same, our professional review and development model, we reflect against the national professional learning model and the standards. So we're deeply involved from the very beginning and clearly deeply committed to professional learning and career-long professional learning so that collectively we can offer the very best for our children and young people. The approach in Glasgow, I'm pleased to say, has clearly paid off as we have 3 recipients of Excellence in Professional Learning Awards, and we'll hear from them now.
My name is Alison Mitchell. I'm currently Principal Teacher at East Bank Primary School.
And I'm Hannah Christie. I'm Principal Teacher of Pastoral Care at St Roch Secondary.
Prior to our roles at the moment, we were both the STEM Development Officers for Glasgow City Council.
STEM Glasgow's vision had 3 key priorities. They were learning experience, staff development and partnerships.
Within the staff development, we came up with a number of programmes that were for everybody across the city in terms of teachers, so from your very early career teachers to your very experienced teachers, including promoted posts. And we launched the Primary STEM Leaders programme. Within that gave the opportunity for people to come together and actually do things that they maybe hadn't done before and actually give STEM a go. But the main thing was very much what is STEM, learning about that, and then also to take homes that you could take back to the classroom the next day.
The Primary STEM Leaders programme was a year-long programme which involved 2 full days of training and also a number of twilights throughout the year.
Within that sat a number of sessions, such as coaching sessions where we would do one-on-one coaching experiences with everybody. They all got to try out with different people and then they got to go and do that back in school as well. So it was very much giving them the tools to work with maybe tricky things back in class, maybe saying I've not got enough time or the barriers that you might have in school, time being one of them, and then actually being able to coach people and saying, well currently I think I'm confident maybe in a 6 out of 10 in teaching technology, but how am I going to get to 7 to 8 and giving them the know-how of how to support that individual as well back in school.
But probably most importantly, although we had the 2 full days training and the twilight sessions and some of those inputs were set, there was always flexibility to tailor it to those that were actually taking part in the programme. So it wasn't fixed, it was always actually a wee bit flexible, and whatever those who were taking part needed, we made sure that was put in there.
And very much from that became a bit of a needs analysis, so asking lots of questions about what everybody needed in their own setting, trying to group things together through the quality indicators and HIGIOS, and then really looking at the professional standards and how what they were doing mapped to what they were doing in their PRD and making sure that fitted in really, really well, because there was no point just doing something for the sake of doing it. It had to have an impact. When this lined up with our school improvement plan, it lined up with our PRD, and then obviously it has an impact in their classroom with our children and young people as well.
One of the main benefits for practitioners that took part in the Primary STEM Leaders programme was the practitioner network that they had actually built with other people that were taking part.
Within that network there was different year groups, so we had the original year 1s which then turned into year 2s and so on, and as that built that became a much bigger network, but it mostly came to a head during lockdown when actually put all the networks together online on a Teams group, and the network grew, and within that brought other people in from their school that were really interested in upskilling themselves, particularly in technology during that time, but also trying to keep things moving in their school, trying to provide opportunities for their children and young people during the time where they couldn't see them face to face, and that provided loads of opportunities for them.
As with any professional learning programme, the legacy and the sustainability has to be built in from the beginning, and that was a really major focus for us when we were developing the primary STEM Leaders programme. As Alex had mentioned, there were numerous cohorts, so year 1s became year 2, year 2 became year 3 and so on, and eventually we had about 4 years worth of practitioners that had gone through this year-long programme of training and development. And ultimately what they were then looking for was going back into their own clusters and their own settings, and then leading that professional learning to others in their school and the local community who hadn't managed to take part in our programme.
And I think the biggest take home that we've had as well is very much that people that maybe weren't a primary STEM leader are actually now leading things in school because they've been inspired by someone within their school. It's opened up networks between the primaries and the secondaries, which are much more tighter maybe than they have ever been before. Also with our early years, we've had clusters working all the way through and having STEM monthly events where people take different responsibilities as well. But the main purpose of all of this is obviously to make sure that our children and young people's learning experience is of the highest quality it can possibly be. And with upskilling our teachers and our teachers having that confidence to give something a go.
So I'm Alison Mitchell. I was a head teacher in Glasgow City Council until February 2022, and I'm now head teacher in residence in a joint partnership with the University of Glasgow School of Education and Glasgow City Council. I became involved in the work of the Deputy Head Teacher Network in 2015 when we were looking at a way to improve learning and teaching and its consistency across secondary schools in the city.
I'm Maura McNeill, I'm a head teacher in Glasgow. I have been a head teacher now for 12 years in 2 schools across the city. First of all Pineland, and now I'm head teacher at Knightswood Secondary School in the west of the city. The learning and teaching deputies gave it a huge opportunity to improve my own personal development and to contribute to the professional learning of both the deputies and others across the city.
My name is Kirsty Ayed and I am head teacher at Kings Park Secondary School, which is in the south of Glasgow. All of the work of the network is entrenched in collaborative working and working in trios, but also entrenched in professional reading and research. And this is a great opportunity to enhance pedagogy across the city, and very much using the GTC standards so that everyone is clear on the expectations and the best service that our young people should expect. And I think everybody has really welcomed the opportunity to undertake reading and enhance their own abilities, and also to work collaboratively, which has an impact within their own classroom but also across each school in Glasgow.
I'm Rosie Martin, I'm head teacher at Notre Dame High School in Glasgow, and alongside my colleague Kirsty Ayed, we are leading the Glasgow City Deputy Head Teacher Network. So the Deputy Head Teacher Network has already undertaken training around coaching conversations. So this is supporting their work back in their own establishments when they're working with their teams in terms of improving learning and teaching. So learning by inquiry is a key feature of the revised standards for all teachers and all practitioners. As a school, I can speak from my own experience of how we've been implementing that in Notre Dame High. Through our teacher learning communities, staff are being supported to plan, undertake and evaluate an aspect of their own learning and teaching that they feel they would like to improve. And that's been a really successful model this year for professional learning.
And Rosie and I are really excited to be part of this, because this city-wide approach is having an impact on all of our young people, and the professional learning is having an impact on all of our staff across the school, and it's absolutely a strategy that could be used for lots of areas of improvement across Scotland.
Hi, I'm Alison Robertson, Deputy Head at Drumchapel High School. The project that we were involved with in Drumchapel High School with our career-long professional learning started with us identifying that our middle leaders were quite a new group, and we needed to get them support to work as a more cohesive group and to give them the supports and the skills and knowledge they needed to support their faculty in taking leadership forward. So we identified that it would be the best idea was to create a programme of support for them, and that would help them to take forward all the gaps that we had identified in the school as we need to look at this, we need to address this, and gives people the knowledge and the skills to be able to do that. So as a school we create a CLPL plan for the whole year, and in that we work alongside Glasgow City Council to where there's central resources put in place and central training, but in addition to that what each school also does is we create a local plan so that we can address the needs in our local area and for our local schools. In that plan what we have done is we have linked them in with the GTCS standards. One of the things that we felt that the standards have to play an important part of is it's not just something that you look at the end of the year when you're doing your CPD records. It's something, it's a document that needs to be organic, it needs to be looked at more than once, and we need to be thinking about the standards in our everyday practice. So what we did was we linked in each of our CLPL events with the most important standard. Quite a lot of the standards can be linked in with quite a lot of the different events, but what we did was we chose the ones that were most pertinent to that, so that it gave a big spread, so that if a member of staff was looking at thinking I want to improve my knowledge and understanding, they could see the CLPL that was an offer where it was the knowledge and understanding standards that were most important. The other thing that we felt was really important was that a lot of decisions in education have traditionally been made on what we think is the best thing for our young people, but where do we get that information? So what we believed was the best thing to do was to get that information through inquiry, through information that's out there, through current practice, through current research, and that way it meant that we were making decisions based on up-to-date and pertinent knowledge, and that is obviously going to have the best impact on our young people. So when we're talking about learning and through inquiry and using up-to-date research, one of the impacts it's had on our school has been that in our daily bulletin, our weekly bulletin, we have a section where there's research, there's articles for staff to look at and keep themselves up to date, and we found that so useful that we've actually built it into our working time agreement for all staff for the year, so it's taking it to the next level.
Hi, my name's Brian McGarry. I'm a physics teacher here at Drumchapel High School. As part of the Leadership Academy, I created a critical journal. I really enjoyed doing that because it charted my journey through the academy. At first, when I started, I felt as though I lacked the confidence, and I wondered whether I had the skills of leadership that are required to move to the next level. And having gone through the process of the academy, I now feel more confident in so much that I do possess the skills that are required perhaps to move to the next level in my career.
My name's Emma Dornan and I'm the pastoral care teacher at Drumchapel High School as well as Associate SLT. And my role in the Career Long Professional Learning Programme at Drumchapel first began because I was fortunate enough to be part of the middle leadership academy that our previous head teacher ran, and then when I came back post-COVID I felt it was really important that we just reignited a spark within our staff and reminded them that they are all in fact leaders at all levels, and I felt that this married up really well with the review of the GTC standards where you can see leadership throughout every level. And when it came to the collaboration, when we were seeing how it was growing as an academy and the type of speakers that we had and the professional reading that we had sought out for it, we thought we can't just keep this in-house, and therefore we started to open it up out into our learning community. And I think we had 3 high schools and we opened it up to all of our feeder primary schools, and actually that collaboration was really invaluable throughout the sessions in terms of being able to work together, discuss in-depth issues currently in education, education and just seeing across sector what other people were doing. And as we know, if we are working together collaboratively, inspiring leadership and displaying leadership values, then we will absolutely have reflective teachers who improve their learning and teaching, which makes the biggest impacts and outcomes for our young people.
My name's Madeleine Baker. I'm the head teacher here at Drumchapel High School. Certainly when I came into the school, you could feel the sense that professional learning was very much part of the culture and ethos of the school that we work in, and we've continued that on with some of the initiatives we've taken this year. We believe that everything in education is based in a research-based approach, and what we see in schools is that basically when you model good professional learning, that this actually filters out to the rest of the school, and the rest of the school then uptake things like master's level learning, which has a huge impact on the quality of learning and teaching within our environment, and young people really do benefit from the professional learning that takes place. Underpinned by that obviously is all our reading that takes place, and that feeds into our very, very strong internal continuing CLPL programme, and that CLPL programme offers opportunities for new staff, for probationers, and for anybody who wants to really undertake anything in regards to professional learning within the school building.